What's up, everybody? This is Steve from Bloom Audio. Today we have the Electron 12 from FiR Audio. Now, in a world of 18 driver, 7-way, crossover, quad bridge, Electron 12 is a single dynamic driver IEM. It's priced at $17.99. And I think a lot of people, especially if you spend a lot of time watching reviews and reading reviews, but haven't heard a wide range of IEMs, you should ask the question, how exactly does, the same technology that's in my old earbuds, cost this much, and how can it hold up and perform with IEMs of that price range? So we're going to take a closer look at Electron 12, the build, the design, and talk about the sound and how FiR Audio was able to take what is a really simple design and achieve something great with it. The look and feel of Electron 12 is very similar to FiR Audio's Frontier series IEM, the Radon, Neon, and all of those. Simple aluminum shell, lightweight, reasonable size, and all of that with a nice faceplate on there. The fit is generally pretty easy, even if you have smaller ears or a short ear canal. The design works well with that. But one thing that's important here is FiR Audio is using a technology they call tactile bass. And you really do need to get the shell into contact with your earlobe with that tactile bass, because part of the design is that the shell itself becomes a secondary transducer for transmitting the vibrations, along with the sound actually coming off the driver. So if you're familiar with FiR Audio at all, you've probably noticed, Radon 6 is a 6-driver IEM, Neon 4 is a 4-driver, and you might have expected Electron 12 to be a 12-driver. Well, Electron 12 uses a 12mm dynamic driver, which is where you get that 12 from. And 12mm is pretty big for a dynamic driver in an IEM. 8mm, 10mm are more common sizes. So this is moving quite a bit of air, for that IEM form factor. Speaking of FiR's Frontier series, Electron 12 uses an Atom system similar to the Atom XS modules used in that Frontier series, but it's not interchangeable. So Electron 12 essentially has the equivalent of the yellow module, which is 17 dB of isolation there. Electron 12 uses 2-pin connections for cable, and the included cable is a 2-pin 4.4mm. It's basically a copper-plated silver, not to be confused with a silver-plated copper. So you have a silver core with copper shielding around that. And the cable is really nice. This is, I think, on par with stuff I've seen in the, $700,000-$800,000 range from some of the aftermarket companies. The feel, the look, and all of that with this cable, very competitive in that space. So this is just a great cable that's included with Electron 12. The other notable feature on here is Swap X, which enables you to swap out the faceplates on the IEM. So there's limited options available right now on FiR's website, but we're planning on releasing a lot more customization options there soon. So, you can purchase and swap out any number of faceplates to get a unique look on your IEMs. Overall, the construction's really solid. The build, fit, the included cable, just a really great overall package. But, that can all be great, but how does it sound? Right off the bat, Electron 12 checks some of the boxes you'd expect for a single DD IEM. Punchy bass, very natural timbre, just a very cohesive, coherent sound all around. There were also a couple surprises with Electron 12, things I didn't expect for a single dynamic driver IEM. One was that the sound very much leans more of a reference tuning that could even be slightly bright at times. And the other was just how fast and resolving it feels. Just that sense of speed of resolution of detail was incredible, and some of the best I've ever heard in a single driver IEM, and definitely very competitive in general with this price point. In the bass, you're going to notice a really deep extension and a little bit of extra rumble in that sub bass. I feel like a lot of IEMs have been doing this lately, where they add a little bit of extra sub bass emphasis so you can keep the mid and upper bass clean and avoid bloat there, while giving it that little bit of extra bass that a lot of modern recordings need. I'm gonna do a little bit of a rant here. Probably the second worst thing to happen to, audiophiles from the recording industry, with the worst being the loudness wars, which is a whole other deal, has to do with the proliferation of overly bass emphasized tunings in mainstream consumer audio products in the last 20-25 years. I think what a lot of audiophiles miss is that when you get the final mix or master of an album, those engineers are designing it to sound great on a wide variety of gear, but also specifically on very popular gear. So when you master an album, you want to make sure it's going to sound great on Beats Solo, because they're one of the best-selling headphones out there. You're not necessarily worried about how it sounds on a HIFIMAN Sundara. So what happens is those engineers actually maybe can't put as much bass in the recording as they would like to put in there for the sake of the beats and the Skull Candy Crusher and everything else. So when us audiophiles pull out our perfectly linear bass and say, this is how the engineer intended it to be heard, it's actually not entirely true. The engineer had to find the spot between how he wanted it to sound and how it was going to not sound terrible on a lot of these overly bass emphasized consumer cans that are very popular. Because in the end, a lot more people are going to hear these recordings on that Skull Candy Crusher and those Beats Solo than are going to hear them even on an HD 600. So anyway, the bass has a nice tight punch in the mid bass. It feels accurate, coming up through the rest of the bass with that little bit of emphasis in the sub bass. And the mids are very clean, detailed, just very rich and full sounding. I found the presence of vocals and instruments was really well balanced across the board. And that balance extends up into the treble, which again is well extended, and that fast resolving feeling, especially notable with cymbals. And that's kind of what reminded me of like an EST type driver, was that the crisp feeling on cymbals and that speed is really impressive for a dynamic driver, and especially a larger than usual dynamic driver for an IEM. In terms of the soundstage and imaging, E12 has a very natural sort of on the stage imaging feeling. I can feel a pretty big sense of space in the soundstage, but the imaging feels closer. Almost like I said, on the stage, like you're playing out into an arena, but the players are actually pretty close to you, where it can feel more intimate there with the specific images, the voice and the instruments, while feeling like you're in a larger space. Putting it all together, there are a lot of elements of that single DD sound, but there's a level of refinement here that I think few others in this category have ever achieved. So, how does it compare with another IEM that we were saying pretty similar things about not too long ago? The HIFIMAN Svanar was the last single DD IEM at this level that we looked at. And there's some strong similarities here with Electron 12, but also some pretty notable differences in the execution. When it comes to the build and design, I think E12 has a pretty big advantage here. In terms of that first package opening experience, Svanar actually has a really fun experience with the box and all the components that go into it. But in terms of the more practical aspects of it, Electron 12 has the advantage. The perception of quality in the IEM itself, I find Electron 12 just feels like it has a stronger build quality, and kind of examining it there's more cohesion in that design visually. I love that little brass piece on Svanar, but I wish they'd kind of done more with that. So just in terms of that confidence that you're going to have in it, I think E12 has the edge there. The cable is another element where Svanar comes with a kind of a thin black cable and slightly non-standard-ish connections on the IEM, though it does work with pretty much any 2-pin cable. Electron 12, that cable was excellent, really kind of top tier for the price. So Electron 12, again, just in general, in terms of the practical usage elements, has the edge. Now, the one place I'll give Svanar the edge is the fit. If you prefer a shallower fit, Svanar you may find to be a little bit more comfortable, and the sound isn't quite as dependent on getting that deeper insertion. Since Electron 12, you need to get good contact with the earlobe itself in order to get the best out of the sound. In terms of the sound, well, I think both of these are more on the reference end of things. Svanar is closer to a traditional single dynamic driver sound. It's a little warmer. It's a bit more punch in the mid bass there. And so it doesn't quite have that same sort of very fast resolving, clean, transparent feeling of Electron 12. There's still a little bit more of that fun and warmth in the sound. And when you put those tuning aspects together, I think I preferred Svanar more on sort of, folk, acoustic, some classic rock, and some classic jazz. But that little bit of extra mid bass really helps with that engagement there. While I preferred Electron 12, I felt it was more well-rounded and versatile overall. But definitely anything that was more technical, whether it was, kind of jazz fusion technical, orchestral, movie score technical, or even like heavy metal technical, I felt that Electron 12 just had that edge overall. And the way that it, extends the sub bass more strongly, most modern pop, hip hop, and rock recordings in general just sounded better. It cleaned up the mids a little bit and gave you that deeper extension that you really need for that bass in modern recordings. So I would give Electron 12 the edge there, and probably the overall edge in terms of the total package as well. But definitely, whether for the fit or if you're just, classic rock, classic jazz fan, there's definitely some places that Svanar has the edge too. My first impression of Electron 12 was a pre-release prototype, and it wasn't quite my cup of tea. I could appreciate, again, the incredible detail, the resolution that it was delivering, and the fact that they were able to achieve this in a single dynamic driver IEM, but I felt like it was lacking some of that fun and engagement. When I got my hands on the final version, it tweaked all that stuff just enough to really deliver that complete experience that had the engagement factor along with all that detail and resolution without really losing any of that. What Electron 12 demonstrates is that you don't need to necessarily add complexity to improve something. At this point, dynamic driver headphones have existed for like 100 years. And so Electron 12 is just, again, taking that simple design. It's a speaker, you put it next to your ear, and now we've got it down to this 12 millimeter speaker that delivers this incredible speed and resolution and accuracy like you could never have imagined. I just love through that slow process of evolution and refining, you can get such incredible results. Thanks for watching. You can check out Electron 12 and a lot of other great products at bloomaudio.com. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll be back soon with more high fidelity audio content.